Okay, so I'm going to show you what I got going on here. I'm making some cups to hold the bushings for the sway bar. Sway bar's 1.25 inch, 120 wall chrome ollie. So pretty strong stuff, but yeah, it will flex a little bit and go back to center. The chrome ollie is really good stuff. We use it a lot. But so I need to make a bushing for it. We got some Delrin on order. We're going to use that as soon as it gets in. So right now we're going to make cups for it and get that done while we're waiting on Delrin. So here's what we got. So using this piece of tubing, I haven't put a measurement on it yet. Let me see what it is. Let's see. So we're like 2 1/8 OD on this. Pretty heavy wall stuff. We're going to, I need to split this down the center because I got to make a 2-piece cup. So my shop dog's over here talking to something in the corner. I'm not sure what, but he's pretty serious about it. Anyway, so we got to split this, but we need to split it on the center, and it's gonna be, that's tough to do by hand. So I'm sitting there thinking how to split that down the center. And one cup's going to get welded down solid, and the other cup will actually bolt to the bottom cup, and that's how we'll put our bushing in 2 pieces. So I think we're going to do it on this saw here, and I figured, I was going to do it by hand, but I wanted to, it's got to be pretty straight. And if I do it on the mill, it's going to slice it too wide. We don't want to slice it that wide because I need all the meat to come back together with the bushing in it. So this is what I come up with. Looks pretty jankety, but it should work. So I think we're just going to take these pieces. I measured and used the mic and stuff to try to get this thing squared up and centered up, and looks pretty good. So we should be able to slide that thing right down through there, and then keep your fingers out of the way. But we're going right through that blade, and it should slice this thing right down the center. That's the game plan. Now, whether it works that way, we're about to find out, but I hope so, because this is literally the only piece of tubing I had. It was 6 inches, and that's what I had laying around in the scrap pile, and I don't have any more of it. I don't have anything that would even come close to working. So if I mess this one up, then I got to go to the steel supplier and try to find another piece, which that'll be 3 or 4 days before we can get that done. And you know me, I don't like waiting, so I need to get this done today. So I'm going to try not to mess this up, and we're going to slice this thing right down the center, and we're going to hope it comes out the same. Alright, so got them cut. Didn't get them as straight as I wanted. So my guides are fine, they didn't move, but apparently the head moved. So this must have shifted on us. I don't know, something was loose or something shifted there somehow or another, because we're off. Not a huge deal, but now I have to keep these things together so I know which one came from which one, so they go back together perfect. Like I said, not a big deal. If I had another piece of tubing, I would try to do another set, but it ain't gonna matter. The two are going back together. They go back together exactly the same like they should. But something moved because I mic'd this right before I started, and it was perfect. And now we are off. So I don't know. Maybe this did move. I'm not sure. Something moved, but whatever. Let's see what this fits like. Yeah, I can't tell you. I don't know exactly what moved, but I know something moved. Let's measure across this. I'll bet this slid. I don't know why it slid. It didn't have any pressure on it. No, those are fine. Those mic up the same. So apparently something in the saw actually moved while we were cutting those. Not a big deal. We're gonna mark them so we don't get them mixed up. We know they always go back together the same. All they're doing is They're going to be a cup to hold the Delrin bushings in place. You know, when the Delrin comes, we'll put it in the lathe and we'll make our own bushings, and it'll have a step on it, so that way the Delrin bushing will have a flat, like a hat on the end of this, so the Delrin bushing can't move in and out, and keep it centered. So, and this so this bottom piece will be more than likely, haven't decided yet, but more than likely this piece will be welded in solid, and then we'll put our bushing in there, sway bar will be through it, and then this piece will actually come down, and we'll have a cap on here to bolt these two pieces together. It has to be pretty stout, you know, can't be nothing too lightweight, because, you know, we're literally lifting the car off all this, so it has to be pretty heavy duty. Maybe we'll put a double set of clamps on here or something, but we'll get it figured out. I don't know, I'm gonna have to go over, and I'm probably gonna have to make some temporary bushings until we get our Delrin. I have some soft nylon, and we'll make a nylon bushing just to put it in there to get everything mocked up, because the Delrin's not going to be here for a few days, maybe a couple days, but either way, we want to get stuff moving now. We don't want to wait. So until the Delrin gets here, we'll make a temporary, you know, out of something a little softer, which we couldn't use nylon because it'll never hold up. But the Delrin seems pretty strong. I've used it on a couple other cars, kind of in the same situations, and it does well. But it's either that or like an oil light bushing or something like that. But the time it's going to take me to get an oil light is too long. I don't like to wait. So when I'm working on something, I want to get it done. So here we go. All right, next thing on our list here. So we've got to make a support for this right here. It's kind of hard to see. So what we've got is we need to make, you know, like a big gusset right here. This is going to have a ton of strain on it. You know, this is what the car is going to be picked up with. This is what all of our 4-link mounts are going to be mounted to. So we got to make sure this thing's super strong. So we're going to do a corner gusset right here. Basically, out of the same tubing we're using here, or something relatively close to this. We're going to get this corner gusset in. And then what we're going to do on that corner gusset, we're actually going to put our cups, you know, for our sway bar, you know, sway bar mounts. So when we do the corner gusset coming down here, and this will mount right to that corner gusset, and it'll kind of give us a riser. And then, you know, everything will mount right to that corner gusset. So this part will be super strong, this part will be super strong, and the all the mounting locations and stuff, you know, they're gonna be pushing and pulling on that thing pretty hard. You know, it's really stout stuff, but obviously it can't just stand there on its own. You know, it'll be super weak that way. So that's the game plan for right now. We're gonna get some of these angles figured out. So we've got this, man, this literally is Harbor Freight. Like it's just an angle finder. You know, it gives you the degrees right there, but I wouldn't trust those. I'm just using it for like a manual setup here. We're not gonna trust the numbers. So what we gotta do, we gotta find out what angle we need to cut that at. So we'll run this down. Hard to do with one hand. So there's what we got. That's our angle. So we'll pull that out of there, and then I'll mark that angle on our piece of tubing, and it should slide right in there, right? Well, ideally it should slide in there. Let's see. This thing says, let me see, that's got a light on. Fancy, right? 74.4 degrees is what it says. If that's correct, I don't know. We can check it and find out, but as of right now, we've got our manual set up, and we'll be able to take that, try to get it out of here without moving it. Still at 74.4, look at that, I got it out of there without moving it. So we'll take this and put this on our piece of material and then mark that. Then we'll know we'll know what angle we need. So, you know, we're not guessing. Just we'll do a little example. This isn't what we're using, but just to kind of show you. So if we want that angle, we can put that right on our material, whatever direction we're going, you know, whatever, you want to go that way or this way, you know, it depends on which direction you want that angle up in there, but you would just put that on there and mark it wherever you want it. You know, we're going to lay it out here and see what direction I want to go with it. And now that I know we have to mount, you know, the sway bar links to it, or, you know, those cups, then we have to have it wide enough to mount that cup and something strong enough to, you know, both the cups too. So we don't want those moving either. You know, all the way to the car is going to be on those, or the back of the car, not the whole car. But I don't know. I'm going to get on that and figure something up here, and I'll let you know what I come up with. Okay, so kind of got this set up. So when we did our angles with our little, you know, with our little Harbor Freight gauge, this thing said 74.4. Honestly, it was pretty close. So 74.4 was the angle of that bracket we have there. And you know, when we went to make that, you know, this is going to be our support, and it actually came out. So, you know, you gotta split the difference because it's two-sided there. So you split the difference of the 74.4, and I think it ended up being 37.25, I think, and split the difference on that, did 37.25 on each side, and look at that, perfect. So right there, Harbor Freight wasn't wrong. Not sure how many times you can say that, but you know, I never trust it. But honestly, when we went, we got our Evolution saw, which is amazing. If you've never used the Evolutions, they're pretty awesome. But knocked that thing out at 37.25. That's 37.25 degrees. We set our Evolution at 37.25 degrees, knocked out each side, and look at that, perfect fit. So yeah, it was correct. So you can see a little more of that. You know, it's going to be right there. So we'll get that all welded in, you know. And I don't like to weld anything in solid until I'm ready to, you know, until I'm done with most everything, make sure everything lines up. It's a whole lot easier to cut a good tack off than it is to cut a full weld out. So we'll get this all tacked in, and then let me see these here. So these cups will end up being right on these. Now we may recess into this and set that cup in a little bit so we can get a really good weld on it. Haven't decided yet, but that's probably the route we'll go, and then we'll bolt this all together. Should be a pretty cool setup when we're done. It should be plenty strong now with those supports in there. You know, like I said, this is all quarter wall stuff. It's heavy. If the tubing was a little bigger, I wouldn't even need quarter wall on it. But you know, we're only using 1.5 by 3 inch just to keep it down, so we don't have to dig into the body so much. You know, we don't want to channel this thing, so that's why we laid the 1.5 by 3 flat. And then everything else is being 1.5 by 3 because same thing, we don't have much room at the back. So it's the best way I can figure to do it, and I think it'll work out fine. So I'm going to get another one of these cut out, and going to decide where I want my sway bar tube at. Then I think we're going to notch that and lay that one piece of tubing right down in there and get it all welded in. All right, so we got the other one cut out. You know, so now we got 2 of them, you know, nice angles on them, fit them all up. They both fit perfect, so we're good there. You know, that's fine. So listen, when you cut these things, you know, we've got this sharp end here. Like, you don't want that on there. You've got to take a grinder and grind this end off, because when you go to weld this thing, you're only welding a thin piece of material on the end, so that bead would have to go clear down to the bottom. You know, it would have to penetrate really deep to get past this. So instead of trying to melt through this and trying to get it to penetrate like it should, it's you just want to go through and grind this off. And this one I was able to, if you can see it, I don't know, it's hard to see this camera. So this is pretty flat here. This was a flat end of the tube, and I actually cut the angle and left the flat end of the tube on here, so I don't even have to grind that one. But the other side of it was in the middle of a tube, so it's sharp. These ones are sharp, but we're just going to grind these off. You know, maybe an 1/8 inch back or something. You know, your bead's going to cover it. You'll never even see that you flattened it off, but you definitely want to do that before you weld, because it just makes a stronger weld, just better penetration. You don't have to try to dig through that thin stuff, because welding that thin tip isn't doing you any good at all. So I'm going to do that, and I think we're going to set this thing up. I'm going to decide where I want my cups mounted in here, and then we're going to put this thing in a drill press. I'm going to try to just run a hole saw down through half of this to recess this back in. So if I can do that and get this to slice out nice, that would be great. But I think we're going to run out of the hole saw before we get through it. So may end up having to do something a little different. I mean, I can do an end mill and go that route, or cut it out by hand, but it's gonna take a lot more time if we got to cut it all by hand, and you know, try to use a die grinder to shape this so the tube fits, which we can. I mean, if that's what we got to do, then we'll just do a straight slice across here, and then we'll just mark this and use a die grinder and grind the hoop out where the cup's going to fit. So either way, shouldn't be too bad, but I'm going to figure out where they need to be. I got to mock these up in, and then decide where I want my cup at in this bracket, and then we'll mark that and we'll get it going. All right, so got these notched out. I'll give you an idea of what I was talking about if you didn't quite understand. So those pieces we had right here for our gussets, our supports. Got those notched out. It's kind of a pain in the butt because the hole saw didn't want to work quite like I wanted it to. But, you know, got both of those done. So now those fit in there. You know, half that saddle goes in there. I left a little bit stick up because the other piece is going to come right against it. So we're just going to weld this saddle in. I think I'm going to TIG weld it just because there's not much room, so we don't want to melt into the other side or something. It's, you know, so we're going to TIG that in. Once we get that welded in, then we're going to make a mounting plate for this one. Is going to sit on top, and then we'll have a set of bolt holes. We'll make a bracket off of this, and we'll have bolt holes that go down through here. I don't know if I'm going to do 1 or 2 bolts, but I might just do 2. Maybe do one here, one here, one here, one here on each of them. So I'm not sure whether we're going to do a piece of plate off of this or how I'm going to do it. And I don't know. I may just turn this over and do the short side in there so it sits even, but I don't know. We're going to get them TIG welded in and go from there. So got these things welded up. You know, just TIG them in place and stuff. I'm going to straighten it up a little bit. You know, we're going to kind of sand them flat, make them nice and smooth, so when we put the other ones on top with a plate to bolt them down, it'll all sit nice and level, and then we'll make our bushings to fit them. But here we go. You know, that's them TIG welded up. You know, I'm no professional welder, but I can make it happen. So whole lot of good welders out there, and I wish I could weld like half of them, but I can't. So this does pretty good, and came out nice, good penetration and stuff. Don't have to worry about it pulling loose. But so no, I'm gonna get these all set up and kind of mock them back in place again, and then we're probably gonna have to get a bushing made for these. You know, just a temporary. Like I said, I've got Delrin coming, so as soon as we get that, then we'll make the real bushings for it. But right now we got to get our top plate made for it, and you know, those are gonna go on there, and we'll probably end up having some kind of a plate come off of this, and that plate will be welded up here, a lot thicker plate than that obviously, but we'll have a bolt hole here, bolt hole here. We'll do that on each side, piece of plate, bolt hole, bolt hole. So I'm gonna cut a couple of those out right now and see if we can't get some stuff mounted up here, get this done before the end of the day and get it tacked in place. So I believe all of our mounts and brackets and front frame rail sections are actually done and on their way to the shop right now. So we'll have those for tomorrow, and then we can get back on that. So we're not getting held up much at all right now on this thing. We've been really fortunate to get stuff done on time and, you know, get our parts here quick. I actually just ordered the rear end housing from Speedway. Geez, man, I don't know, a day ago or 2 days ago? No more than 2 days ago, and that thing just showed up today. So, you know, man, shout out to Speedway for getting us quick. I mean, it's right around Christmas time right now, so for them to get that to us that fast, pretty impressive. I'm really happy with that, because we're about ready. We need it. So it's here, and you know, we're gonna get on these things and get them made up. So right now I feel like I'm the one holding me up. So I got more parts here than I'm getting work done, so need to get on it. All right. Alright, so I'm going to show you what we're going to do here. So, you know, I was getting ready to do these caps like this. And I was going to put a piece of plate up against them, you know, weld that on top and bottom, get it nice and squared up. Use that to bolt that down. But then I got thinking, we're not going to be able to get behind here to put a nut on here once this is all welded on. So I'm going to have to drill and tap this to bolt these plates down. But this is 1/4 inch, and I don't trust the 1/4 inch to bolt the plate down, just tapping a 1/4 inch in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take these plates, I'm going to actually weld. This is like, I don't know, I had this plate laying around. It's very strong. It's kind of heavy in weight too, but I don't know if it's chromoly or something. I don't know. I use it every once in a while. It's very strong stuff, and it's not brittle. Welds up really nice. Anyway, so going to weld this plate right to this, and then when we're ready, to weld this plate onto here. We're going to put it over top there. We're going to weld that on. Then when we drill this, we're actually going to drill and tap down through both 1/4-inch plates. You know, the 1/4-inch tubing and this 1/4-inch plate. Then we'll have a 1/2 inch of thread in here. Yeah, I feel a whole lot better about that. So that's what I'm doing right now. Going to get this all cleaned up. You know, these are obviously a little bit long. We'll get those all ground down and fit. But we're going to get those welded in place now. And then we'll go from there. Just giving you a heads up because plans changed a little bit, which they always do. Not a problem.